Ladies and gentlemen, in scouring the airwaves and media to find you the most important news on impeachment, I came up with a brilliant article, and it's by a really wonderful journalist, Kimberly A. Strassel. Kimberly Strassel is a fantastic journalist for the Wall Street Journal, and it's actually a really interesting. It's actually a really interesting take. Pelosi's rolling impeachment. Now, I've alluded to this before, but I've never coined the phrase rolling impeachment. Republicans dismiss her tactic, but why would they assume she wants a trial? And so I've been saying all along that they're probably going to impeach President Trump again. They don't have anything to really remove him or impeach him on. They don't have anything. They haven't proved that he withheld military assistance because he was afraid of Biden. He wanted to interfere. They haven't proved that. President Zelensky and President Poroshenko of Ukraine prior. President Poroshenko was the predecessor of President Zelensky, who was on the phone call. Both of them have stated that there was no pressure, no leverage, no quid pro quo. But Democrats know more than the current president of Ukraine and his predecessor, President Poroshenko. So Democrats and Adam Schiff and Nadler and Pelosi and Schumer, they know a lot more. They know a lot more than, see, he was really lying, don't you know? He just doesn't want to get on Trump's bad side. So when confronted with an overt refutation of their nonsense by the person who is said to have been leveraged, they say, "Oh well, that's meaningless. That's meaningless." Just like when impeachment witnesses came up and said, "Well, it's obvious he wanted a quid pro quo. Do you have any knowledge? Do you have any knowledge of a crime? Do you have any direct knowledge? Did Trump tell you anything specifically that he wanted a quid pro quo?" No, nothing. They can't find anything. They can't find anything. But here, Mrs. Pelosi has understood from the start that the inevitable outcome was acquittal. So here, think of it as a rolling impeachment. Every day the Senate doesn't hold a trial, Mrs. Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer are free to argue that the process is rigged. They are already claiming the Senate's Republican jurors have abandoned impartiality, are actively working with Mr. Trump to cover up his crimes, and are afraid to hold a trial. No, they want a trial. Chuck Schumer wants a trial. Chuck Schumer wants a trial. It's Pelosi who hasn't given... not sure. Did you just confuse me with Schumer? Oh my goodness. H.A. Badman, I want you to apologize to me every day of your life. How dare you confuse me, Mitchell McConnell, with a person like Schumer, of all people. Anyway, obviously Mitch McConnell wants the articles of impeachment. Pelosi is keeping them. But here, think of it as a rolling impeachment. Every day the Senate doesn't hold a trial. Mrs. Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer are free to argue the process is rigged. They are already claiming that the Senate Republican jurors have abandoned impartiality. They know this is all nonsense. They know. They already know. They already know that it's all political. The Democrats, were they impartial? No. Adam Schiff wasn't impartial. Nadler isn't impartial. Pelosi is not impartial. When she says, "Oh, it's with a heavy heart, we have to," no, it's not. They've been talking about impeaching Trump forever, since the second he became president. Nothing is impartial here. They used an intelligence operative with ties to Biden and who contacted Adam Schiff's office without direct knowledge of the phone call that President Zelensky states was not leverage. And they got the assistance anyway. And they didn't, look, the notion that they wouldn't have investigated Biden or Burisma, there was already an ongoing investigation. They've widened their criminal probe into Burisma. So, the belief that, okay, Biden fired the prosecutor for altruistic reasons, even though Ukraine pushed back. They actually stated, when he was boasting and bragging about his when he was boasting that he forced Ukraine to fire its prosecutor, its chief prosecutor. He stated on the tape here, let's just listen to it right now. He stated that the Ukrainians pushed back and they said, you don't have the authority. Well, if that was official U.S. policy, why did they have to ask him? Why did they have to say, you don't have the authority? Why did they come back and tell him, hey, you don't have the authority? You don't have the authority. Here, let's look at this right here. Okay. You'll see what I mean. Here's the segment. Okay, so all right. So here is the actual segment you're going to hear, or the video of him actually engaging in a quid pro quo. That even The Intercept and other publications that you would expect to be critical of Biden are like, oh, well, there's no evidence of wrongdoing. Are you kidding me? Look at the actual. This is one of the reasons why Pelosi doesn't want to send the articles to the Senate. But here. Hold on one second. Okay.
I remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they had a...
You got a commitment from Poroshenko. Who, for what reason? Okay, because this prosecutor, Poroshenko, first of all, said that Trump never engaged in any quid pro quo or leverage or pressured him in any way to investigate Burisma, the same company funneling millions into Hunter Biden's accounts. So he went to Kiev a whole bunch of times, and this time there's a $1 billion loan guarantee. He had already stated to Poroshenko, who was president at the time before Zelensky, both of whom, Zelensky and Poroshenko, both state there was no leverage and no quid pro quo. And Zelensky reiterated that the other day. Okay, so now you have Biden stating that he had obtained a commitment from Poroshenko to fire the prosecutor. Really? When was this commitment obtained? What did this commitment entail? What is it in writing? Is there documentation that this man was supposed to be fired? How come nobody talks about that? And furthermore, where's President Obama in all of this? Did he tell Biden to fire this prosecutor Shokin when Poroshenko was in power? Because you're going to hear right now, Biden brings up President Obama. Notice when they get caught in the act, they say, well, it wasn't me, it's not me. Or they say, well, you know what, my boss will back me up. But here.
They were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him.
You have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, and then he said, I said, call him. So which one is it, Joe? I mean, this is a really, really important element of this absurd, admission of guilt. And he doesn't even know that he's guilty of anything, because to him, firing a prosecutor, as long as it coincided with apparent U.S. foreign policy, maybe he had the leeway. If he didn't have the leeway, where was the directive or the order or the statement from President Obama to tell Vice President Biden to fire this guy Shokin, the prosecutor? Where are the official documents saying that Biden was authorized to fire the prosecutor of another country? And furthermore, Maria Ivanovich had already stated that President Obama's administration gave her talking points regarding the conflicts of interest that Biden had. So wait, let's listen to this again.
Artie, you're not the president. The president said, I said, call him.
You're not the president. Here.
The president said, I said, they said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said.
You have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, and then of course he gets into another train of thought. But Ukrainian officials told Biden, and he is admitting this. They said to Biden, you're not the president. Well, let's listen to this again.
Authority, you're not the president. The president said, I said,
you have no authority.
They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said,
you have no authority. The president said,
I said, call him.
That's so tough of you, Biden. I said, call him. So now you're implicating President Obama. He literally stated, I'm telling you a story about how I forced another country to fire their prosecutor, and they pushed back, and they said that I had no authority, but I said, call the president. So which one is it? If it was U.S. foreign policy, the Ukrainians would have already known or understood that he had either the authority or that prosecutor should have been fired. But it's nobody's business to, if the whole point is you fire a prosecutor because he's not looking into corruption, and you get on Trump for withholding military assistance because he just wants to make sure that the correct people or that the government of the Ukraine gets the assistance and not oligarchs or corrupt individuals, you believe Biden when it comes to his excuse for corruption, but you don't believe Trump. With Trump, there has to be a nefarious motive. With Biden, there could never, ever be any consideration about his son, about the corporation funneling millions to his son. And why is his son allowed to work on the board of directors of a corporation that has been accused of massive corruption in Ukraine, and he's trying to fight corruption? But here, let's listen to this again. I mean, this is really incriminating.
He said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money.
If the prosecutor is not fired in 6 hours, you're not getting the money? And they impeach Trump? Where is it written that it was U.S. foreign policy to fire this prosecutor? And if it was indeed written someplace, or there are documents, or there's justification, why didn't this take place through official channels? You could say, well, the vice president did it. Yeah, but threatening not to get $1 billion in loan guarantees is not the way United States diplomacy works. It's not the way any country's formal diplomacy works. So where was the directive or the decision, the foreign policy decision? How was it crafted? Where did it stem from? How did it become, or I should say, how did Biden come to the conclusion that he had the authority at that moment? Before he left 6 hours, in 6 hours he was going to leave the Ukraine. He was going to leave Ukraine, but he demanded they fire a prosecutor. Who gave him that authority? Was it President Obama? Well, we should know, because Biden implicates him in this. Is it U.S. foreign policy? Was he there to specifically fire the prosecutor? Maybe we should know. He goes to Ukraine. Is there an official statement saying, oh yeah, he's there to fire Shokin? So obviously this was off the cuff. He had personal interest that possibly coincided with U.S. foreign policy in some roundabout way. And people say, well, it was U.S. foreign policy, and a lot of people agreed. So what? That's not the way any country conducts foreign policy. Not spur of the moment, impromptu. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm leaving, and you better do this. Who was part of the decision making? Because with Trump, they're impeaching him on the hearsay and gossip and viewpoints and innuendo and, just a whole lot of opinion regarding former diplomats who just think that, oh, yeah, well, he obviously did. Do you have direct knowledge? No. But we think he did. And Marie Yovanovitch, one of the impeachment witnesses, already stated that they had already stated that President Obama's administration had given her talking points regarding Hunter Biden. So which one is it? Give me your thoughts below. They want a rolling impeachment because they want to take the focus away from Biden as long as possible to pave the way for Clinton. Clinton's going to be nominee. Clinton's going to be nominee. And they're going to market it, well, you know what? You might not like her personality. She, Madam Secretary, everything that every single foreign policy decision and has been an absolute failure. But yes, at least, Madam Secretary's better than this monster who was impeached, who, by the way, poverty has decreased. Poverty has decreased. National poverty from 12.7% to 11.3% in the United States of America under Trump. Record low unemployment. Record highs in the stock market. So you tell me how his economy isn't as good as he says it is. Give me your thoughts below. They're not going to defeat Trump. They're going to lose to Trump with Clinton again. But all of this serves one purpose, to elect Clinton. Give me your thoughts. To nominate Clinton within the Democratic Party. She will lose to Trump. Give me your thoughts. Thank you so very, very much.